Welcome, Kaitlin and everyone.
Hello.
Um, all right, so we're going to get started with your session zero. Why don't you start off by quickly just sort of describing a little bit about your character? That could be appearance, general demeanor, personality, etc.
So my character is an Orzai, which I'm sure alien reference document will go out to the public at some point. But Orzai are kind of uh, almost bug-like humanoids. So she is about 5 feet tall, which is tall for an Orzai, but still short compared to most of the rest of the solar system. She has 4 arms, and she has it's kind of like an exoskeleton, I guess I would call it. There, her instead of like soft skin, it's kind of more hard, like the carapace of a bug. Um, Very sharp, angular face. Her eyes are almost completely black, and she's got no hair, just very smooth, light colored carapace, I guess, and then antennas. And she wears kind of flowy, almost robes, very loose fitting, fun colored clothing. Her name is Bina Oba. She goes by Bina, and she is very excited about the world and the things she can do, and just excited about experiencing things. So I'm excited, and she is excited, and we're all going to be enthusiastic.
Awesome. All right, um, Bina lives on a space station, one of the larger space stations um, that is in. I don't want to not in orbit, but drifts off of one of the conduits, one of the massive gates that allows rapid transportation between regions of space. The station that Bina lives on is Station 23. Um, there are a variety of local names for it, but that's its official designation. Um, Hold on, making sure audio stuff is happening here. Cool, it is. All right. Um, on let's see, Bina's particular job, as we discussed, is as a mechanic and maintenance worker in the starport on Station 23. Um, and as such, her job, given her small stature and multi-limbed physique, her job requires her to crawl through small spaces that would be difficult for other beings to make their way through. Um, so let's start with this question: How does Bina feel about her job?
I think she really enjoys it for the most part. The kind of the menial tasks are boring. She can do them easily and do them well. Like when ships come into port and it's just routine maintenance, it's like just a general checkup. That's kind of boring, but she really likes it when things come in broken, because then she gets to fix them. I think she thinks that she's. I think at most enjoyment with her job when she gets to fix something that isn't fine. Like
Yeah.
when things come in, they're fine. She's to look at everything and check things off the list that everything's working. That's boring. But yeah, no, when she actually gets to kind of like when they send her into like an engine and stuff, she thinks
Right.
that's very fun.
So safe to say Bina is a little bit of a gearhead.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
About engines in particular.
Right. Um. It. How long would you say Bina has lived on the station doing this job?
Hmm, Probably at least 5 years,
Okay.
maybe a little bit more. But I mean, she's been here. Like this is kind of where set up
Okay.
set up shop for
Yeah, and
herself.
in that time, she's managed to build a bit of a reputation amongst her coworkers as being that that kind of gearhead, somebody who's just really into just getting into like the engine works of various ships. The rarer the ship, the better. Just sort of getting up to her elbows in engines and just seeing what makes them work, putting them back together, taking them apart in some cases, as sometimes your job does require you to do like full overhauls.
Yes.
And during that time, you've developed a reputation amongst your coworkers as being one of the best. Probably at first there was probably some resentment among coworkers, but you won them over eventually.
She's too cheerful.
Yeah. So on this particular day, Bina, you awake in your apartment, a relatively small apartment, probably not much bigger than one room. There's like one room and a bathroom, basically, is what there is in this apartment. Like space on ironically, on a space station, there isn't a lot of space. So basically, every living space, other like for single occupant dwellings or or couples, are pretty small, rarely being more than a single room. With some of the larger ones reserved for families. But I think it's correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's probably safe to say that that's never really bothered Bina that much.
No, I think she's kind of fine with it. Like, only ever noticed that maybe that wasn't common when she had been asked about it, probably for the first time. But no, I think she's good. I think she's like super good where she's at.
Okay, so on this particular day, Bina awakes and sort of spends some time sort of stretching a little bit on the couch as you slowly come to consciousness. Sort of having fallen asleep looking over a bunch of technical readouts for an overhaul that you're supposed to be doing later in the week. And you awake to the chirping of your alarm.
Just like my alarm clock?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not an emergency.
No. Not that kind of alarm.
I wake up. I'm excited for the day, as I am most days.
All right.
I think she's a morning person. I think she wakes up like earlier than necessary.
Okay. Any particular morning rituals that she observes before going to work?
It's probably pretty standard. You know, get up, get refreshed, get clean, eat food. She doesn't get to work early. This is like her before work, but it was like, I think she would spend time, because she has I think we said she worked in kind of like a bigger port. Like there are like a lot of ships coming in and out from here.
Right.
And she really likes to observe. I think so. She doesn't go to work early, but she gets out early so that she can kind of find, I think, that she has scoped out over the years, where she'll eat her breakfast and watch the incoming ships.
Okay. Station 23 being a larger station, including residential areas and various businesses, operates largely like a small city floating through space. And as such, being one of the larger stations means that there's a lot of traffic through here. So there's plenty of opportunity for Bina to watch ships come and go. Sometimes they stop in and she gets to work on them, and that's kind of her favorite. But
yes,
more often than not, they stop in for a refueling,
boring.
Supplies, like resupplies, maybe some maintenance, but every so often you'll get some ships in that maybe got on the wrong side of an asteroid belt and need a little bit of
TLC.
Yeah, definitely. this particular morning, you reach your favorite spot to watch ships in the starport, and you sort of settle in, and sort of having packed your breakfast to bring it along, you just sort of settle and just kind of. I'm imagining sort of like a catwalk over the main floor of the spaceport, where you can just sort of
absolutely.
sit and like see them as they come in.
I think she like will kind of like you know when if you like hold on to dangling off of something and you can kind of like hang on to it by your knees and like lean back and look up. She can do that with her bottom arms while she's like eating her sandwich, like leaning back up with her eyes out. Just kind of like leaning, hanging out.
Yeah. So you see a few vessels coming in and out. One that you note in particular appears to be an Anzalonian ambassadorial vessel, notable by its sort of sleek silver design.
Do we get many of those here?
From time to time. The interesting thing about Anzalonian ambassador ships is that every single one of them is unique. Sort of.
Yeah, she's very intrigued then. She definitely wants.
This one in particular looks like it's graceful with its graceful curves and finned sides. Looks like the head of a graceful bird.
Ooh.
Yeah, you're kind of taking a look at that one, just sort of watching as it pulls into dock. You see as it's docking, you can see a variety of individuals disembarking. Most of them look like ship's crew. You don't see any diplomats disembarking. Probably just leading you to believe that this is probably just sort of a pit stop along the way to another destination, which is pretty typical of ships like this whenever they do come in. In the 5 years that you've been here, there probably has been at least one instance where you actually got a chance to crawl inside one of these ships, these ambassador ships. It was fantastic. Like, everything was just like the inside of that ship's engine was one of the cleanest things you've ever seen.
Her eyes could not get any bigger. I just wanted to see.
Yeah, it was just beautiful, the way that all of the like coils were basically kept together in these nice little like just bunches, so that they, rather than tangled like they often get, particularly in like merchant ships and freighters. But sadly, as you kind of watch this one, it seems like this might just sort of be a flyby.
Boring.
You hear some footsteps making their way across the catwalk as you look up, and you actually are surprised to see one of your co-workers, a Terran man named Casimir. You can see his features, probably about his middle-aged features, with the telltale signs of that sort of telltale marbling of Keldro ancestry in the skin. As he makes his way towards you, he's like, hey, thought I might find you here.
I'm predictable.
He leans over the railing, not sitting like you are, just sort of standing over, leaning out, looking at the ship. He says, That's a beauty right there.
I know. Think I'll get inside?
He's kind of squints his eyes and looks towards it. He says, my money's on a drive-by.
Boo.
So you can tell, just he kind of points to where you can see the crew talking to the dock master. He says, you can tell usually these ambassador types like to stay on their ships, unless they've got business here. But looks like yeah, doesn't look like any ambassadorial leg stretching taking place right now.
Not much business to be had on 23.
Yeah, well, not for the likes of them anyway. He, with some effort, sort of lowers himself down to sit next to you on the rail.
I'll offer some of my breakfast. The other half of my sandwich.
Yeah, he just shakes his head. He's like, "Oh no, I shouldn't. I'm." He kind of like pats his rounded stomach. He says, "I'm trying to watch the weight a little."
Suit yourself. It's very tasty, and I'll take like a very big bite, like for
Yeah.
emphasize the.
He just chuckles and shakes his head and leans across the rail as well. And he says, "Hey, listen, I might after work today. You know what? Don't worry about it. It's fine. I'll find a way."
Well, I could be the what? What? Talk.
Okay. I just wanna preface this by saying that I am, I am an upstanding citizen. I don't get into all kinds of legal troubles and things like that. It's not really my thing anymore.
Of course.
So yeah, just as long as we understand that has been stated. Just
preface understood.
Okay. Well, look, I have I'm waiting for a part. That new compression coil that just dropped off the line.
Oh, okay.
But thing is, I can't really afford it. So he kind of glances around. He says, I may have found a less than legitimate dealer. And I need to go pick the part up. Thing is, it's sort of in the meeting place that he assigned was in that in the old sector, and you know how dangerous that place can get. I mean, I'm not asking for any kind of like enforcer or anything like that. Just somebody to like be there just in case something goes wrong. They can see it, witness, a witness. I mean, you remember how a few months ago I got jumped walking through that place?
Yeah.
Well, the station authority, and the station authorities, they said they couldn't do anything about it because nobody saw it happen.
You just, in particular, maybe want someone who can tell when there are other people around.
Exactly.
Yeah. That makes sense. That's where I thought this was going.
Yeah. He kind of looks over at you and he says, I just didn't know if it was, rude to, I mean, I know you and Orzai tend to be pretty good at picking up stuff like that. I didn't know if it was rude to ask that.
I don't know if it's rude to state a fact and ask for a favor. So you're fine.
Yeah.
I will help you.
Thanks. He says, yeah, I'm just once the shift is over is when I'm supposed to go and meet this mystery back alley parts dealer.
Oh, yes, the preface is holding up so well.
Hey, listen, it's not like the corps are going to miss it. It's one part. It's the new part, but it's one. It's only one.
As long as I get to hold it.
Of course.
I'm gonna hold it. I want to look at it.
Of course.
Okay.
I've been waiting for this compression coil to drop, and I'm. thinking about trying to put it into my pulse bike and see if that baby purrs.
Ooh. Yes. Yeah. I've seen. I definitely could use a little help in that specific particular area.
Yeah.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna interrupt your breakfast anymore. Besides, I gotta run a few pre-shift checks.
Sounds good. See you after shift.
All right. Yeah. See you. I'll meet you over by the entrance to the port.
Perfect.
All right. And he with some effort lifts himself up again, and as he walks away, just sort of mutters under his breath, "Shit ain't getting any easier." And he just kind of
Yeah, Bina laughs a little bit at that, I think.
Yeah, he was one of the first ones to kind of like when you came and first started working here. He was basically the shift manager that you got assigned to, who sort of took you under his wing and sort of showed you a little bit around the hangar, taught you how to run some of the maintenance machinery.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's always probably like the closest thing that Bina has to a friend on this station.
Yeah.
In spite of the fact that so okay, let's talk about this. How socially active is Bina on the station?
I think on the station might be one of the only places really like like we talked a little bit earlier, but their job, what they do is a lot of like they're working with their hands. Like it's not like writing, it's not like speaking with customers. Like it's just I feel like it probably gets really chatty. Like we get that, so that's how she gets her gossip. I think like that's how I think she's pretty chatty with the people at work specifically.
Okay, but outside of work, what? Not so much.
Probably not as much. I think she kind of is. She likes to explore. She likes to, I think, go off and like find new places she hasn't been, which she's probably running low on for so long.
Right.
But she'll make friends with people who seem to want to be friendly with her. Like she likes to talk to other people. She thinks it's fun. She's not always very good at it, but like she doesn't, I don't think, actively seek like social companionship.
Okay.
Very often, unless she's in a situation where it makes sense, which is why work tends to be where she talks to people, because it gives her a spot where the only thing to do is talk. So
yeah, and it's likely that that Casimir is like one of the only people that she's probably like spent like time with outside of work, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
There aren't very many, but she will on occasion. It's not like often she doesn't have gatherings in her tiny apartment. Like she'll go places if invited, but like she's content on her own often.
Okay.
She hears a lot from other people or feels a lot from other people, and so I think she values her alone time.
That's fair. Well, and especially in a place where like Orzai are not very common.
Yeah.
Are
there any other Orzai on this station?
You've probably seen a few, but not many.
Yeah, it would probably pretty sparse.
Yeah. So, in a place, being an empath amongst a bunch of other people who are not can be pretty draining.
Yeah. So I think she definitely enjoys alone time. She likes people. She likes interacting with people, but sometimes it's nice to be able to like shut it off.
Yeah. Plus, I think probably sometimes on the other side of that, your Orzai nature of sort of displaying emotions and emotional reactions outwardly and obviously is probably sometimes off-putting to certain people.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, they're not used to the way that she interacts.
Yeah. All right, so you at this point kind of finish up your breakfast and you make your way kind of you stand up and you kind of take one last look at the ambassadorship, and just sort of
sigh dreamily at it.
Yeah.
Dramatically.
And you make your way back down to the locker rooms. When you get there, your shift is already there, and they're like engaging in the usual pre-shift banter. Unsurprisingly, a few of them are currently talking about the very ship that you were just taking a look at. One thing that surprised you when you first arrived here and started working is that in spite of the fact that ships and their engines and their functions is essentially it is 100% of what the people in this job do, not many of them actually have the passion for it that you do. For a lot of people, this is a job, and that's it. Which was something that was probably disappointing to you when you first came in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's right. Even so, right now, it's a mark of how significant that ambassadorship is that your shift is actually talking about it. Usually, they're engaging in conversations about any number of other things outside of work. The last thing most of them want to be doing is talking about work in their few sparing free moments. But you kind of come in, sort of join in the conversation a little bit here and there, but pretty soon it's time to get out onto the pad, as you see your current shift supervisor pokes his head in, and he says, "Freight ship just pulling in, needs some replacement of some of the ignition couplers." Says, "Bina, you're up."
Oh, okay. Yeah, she'll grab her probably she's got like a little like tool cart that she carries around with her, and she'll make her way over.
Okay. Yeah. And basically you proceed throughout your shift with sort of standard methodical kind of approach. Is
there anything fun, or is it all just really like standard? Is it the boring stuff?
It's mostly the boring stuff. It usually is mostly the boring stuff. But
it's the only time anyone ever sees her job is she's very like when she doesn't do like what she considers the quote unquote fun stuff, which is probably like the frustrating stuff for most people. Like,
yeah.
So she's like,
everybody.
People are probably grateful to have the boring stuff, and she's always like,
yeah. Like... a lot of your coworkers are mystified by your enthusiasm for overhauls because they find overhauls to be just the worst.
They like have people who are assigned Bina to their team when we're doing overhauls are always delighted because she will get in, like she'll do the stuff that most people don't want to do, like getting inside of things. Mostly like they're happy to have her because she's the one that's small enough, but also she likes to do it.
Right.
So she's good to have on the team for those ones.
Definitely.
But she is often very outwardly dramatically disappointed when it isn't like the quote unquote fun stuff.
Yeah. Unfortunately, today seems like a pretty routine sort of day. Let me think about this for a second. Yeah, you know what? That's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna have a roll. We're gonna have a roll.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So, this is going to be definitely gonna be an intellect roll.
Okay.
It is. This is gonna be to like making sort of a general. This is just to notice something about a ship.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
The difficulty on this one, I think, is gonna be I'm gonna make it a 3.
Okay. So that is 9.
Right, 9 or better.
9 or better. So does any of my vehicle or piloting, does that help at all? My training in those?
You know what? I think I am going. I'll. There's a couple of different ways I can go about this, and I'm trying to decide how I'm going to approach this. My inclination is to say yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm going to allow. Actually, let's put it. Okay, let's do it this way. Because your job is basically working on ships, and
Hmm.
so you have to know a little bit about some of them. So I'm gonna say for this, I'm not gonna necessarily allow your training in those things to work, but I'll say that your job here on this station,
Will
uh,
help with it.
I'll allow
Okay.
it to count it as an asset for this.
Okay. And assets, you're gonna have to help me. Assets do
It just drops the difficulty by one.
difficulty by one.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, okay. How much does it cost to drop the difficulty by another one? Just because I want practice. It
Right.
is
So spending a level of effort, it costs 3 points from the pool.
okay.
And then unless you have an edge
I have one edge.
in
Does it cost
intellect,
then 2 points? Yeah, an intellect.
yeah. So it'll only cost two.
Okay. I'm gonna do this just because it is good practice and it will help me later. So
Okay.
that drops it to one then.
Right.
Correct?
So yep. So just a 3 or better is all you need.
Okay. Oh boy. 16.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say you succeeded there. So as you're working throughout the day, one of the things you notice is a much smaller ship. This one is, um, just from the look of it, it's pretty nondescript, but from the look of it, it looks like it's at most maybe like a three person crew.
Ooh.
Like it's a and when I say the three person crew, I mean in terms of operating crew.
Okay.
So like relatively small compared to a lot of the other ships that come through here on a pretty regular basis. Um, the thing that strikes you about it right away is that it doesn't look like a personal vessel, like a personal transport.
Hmm.
Personal transports have a certain amount of wear to them, even when they're new. There's a. I bet Bina would describe it as a look, but it's really more of a gut instinct that she has about them, just from her knowledge of ships
Hmm.
and like of the procedures of the port. There's a sort of wear about them when you see them, and you can know which ones are like the personal transports, which ones um, are the freighters, which ones are the mercenary cruisers, and those sorts of things. This one doesn't appear to be any of those things. Like, the most notable thing about it is how utterly unremarkable it is. Like, to the point where it almost seems like effort was put into just making it seem as nondescript as possible. You've never seen a more boring ship, let's put it that way.
Is it on my docket? Is it on my
It's not. It's actually
to-do list?
it's
Oh,
on
okay.
the next it's in the next bay over. Like the spaceport itself is just it's open. But it is
I just
just
mean, is it on my roster of ships to maintenance today?
no, it does not appear to be.
Okay.
It has each sorry, just got distracted. Each shift is organized into different shift crews, and those crews operate specific bays.
Yes.
And each bay can, depending on the size of the ships that are coming in, can house anywhere from 2 to 10 vessels, depending on the size of the ship that docks. The next bay over is being helmed. Actually, Casimar is the one who's currently his crew is over there. You're kind of glancing over at it as it comes in, sort of in between some of your jobs, and just sort of watching it as it comes in. It docks, and you see a few individuals disembark. It's hard to make out much about them at this distance, but there's there's something incongruent about the ship and the people that you see coming off of it. The people that you see coming off of it look. There's something corporate about them. Let's put it that way. The ship itself doesn't look like a company vehicle. It doesn't look like the usual sleek, flashy kind of ship that corporate types tend to travel in.
Do I like feel anything?
It's a little far for that.
That's fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not in the same bay.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, you're kind of watching them, and you can see as a few of them speak to the dockmaster, as they have a brief exchange of words, and then they move off back into the station. You kind of watch them, a group of them, as they just disappear into the station itself.
Hmm.
Uh,
If I'm like in between jobs right now, uh, I'm gonna kind of like make my way over to wherever like the connecting between bays is and try to like get Casimar's attention.
yeah, you find him.
Oops.
You find him pretty quick as he's sort of bent over a like one of the larger tool boxes, and he's like looking through it, and he glances
She
up.
will bend over with him and like
Yeah, he's
into it with him.
yeah. As
Hey,
you do that, he just shit. He's like okay. He says, we've talked about this. You can't do that.
I I can and I do. I'm very sorry. What's up with the plane one just came in, huh?
He kind of glances over. He says, "Oh, I don't know. Not really sure. The whoops. Hold on a second. I just realized.
Oh, I thought he dropped something.
He says, I'm not really sure. The harbor master or dock master just told us that we don't need to do anything with that one. Not even a refuel. Why? Did you see something happen?
No, and that's kind of maybe the issue or not issue. No, didn't it just look a little sad to you? Looks a little plain, a little
I mean,
not worn in, a little.
it looks like a ship. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. He says, I mean, it's kind of weird that they don't even want a refuel, not even a check over. But
See, that's extra. That's the extra, the weird.
I mean, it's pretty. I mean, I suppose it could use with a paint. It could use a paint job, but
She's just like staring at the ship as he's talking to her.
yeah,
Like,
he was like mostly not paying, like not looking in the same direction. Still like talking to you, like looking in the toolbox. But at this point,
yeah.
he seems to like have noticed your attention. He just sort of sets down what he's doing and turns around and looks at it, and looks between you and the ship. He says, "What are you thinking?"
I don't know. Bunch of bigwigs come out of the most boring ship I've ever seen. Just weird. They don't want to. They don't want fuel. They don't want to. They don't want to clean the windshield. Is that a little weird?
I mean, yeah, I guess it is a little weird. It's not, it's not
If I go
exactly.
look at it, will you get me in trouble? I'm not gonna go in. I just want to look at it.
You know, I hate it when you do this, because
You won't tell me, Shipmaster, because I'm helping you tonight, right?
You know, I can't say no to you, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, I hate it when you.
Yeah.
All right, listen, we never had this conversation.
No, never once. Okay. Okay. I'll see you later. Bye. And
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
gonna kind of like skip, like just kind of like jump, kind of past him and she does a thing where kind of like yips kind of really quick and like is walking really fast and then trying to be like kind of like slows down very purposefully.
Yeah,
And, like,
slows
looks
down,
down.
like walking past a few like shift workers who
and
just.
like looking around. And yeah. And she's gonna kind of like as soon as she's out of any line, kind of scurry over. She just wants to look.
Okay.
She just wants to see up close if there's anything else that she can notice about it.
Sure.
Because it's caught her eye.
Yeah. So the thing that becomes obvious very quickly, is that this whatever words were exchanged between the people who disembarked the vessel and the dockmaster. One of the things that was clear is that probably in that conversation some exchange of words that it was to basically be left alone because as you're coming closer, like you don't even see anybody in the vicinity of it,
Hmm.
which is unusual because usually there's like a bustle of activity, even just like standard like uh, um, decontaminations sort of stuff, right? Where you
Hmm.
just sort of like torch the underside of the vessel just to make sure that no like contaminants have come in. Um,
Is there any markings, like words or symbols or anything on the ship? Like normally people have like insignias or like there are
right.
names of ships and like
Yeah. Other than
numbers or indicators.
unless you want to take a closer look, the only thing that you can see right now is just sort of the ship's registry number, and that's it.
Ooh, okay, well that's something.
Yeah.
How how far away am I right now?
I'd say by this point you probably have gotten like um probably within about like 500 feet or so of it.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's probably closer to like 300 feet to be honest, because like
Okay.
this is a huge bay. It's one of the larger
Yeah,
ones, but it's like yeah, to make out the registry number, you'd have to be probably within about 3 feet or 300 feet.
for sure. 3 feet.
Three
It's
feet,
very small.
right there. Yeah. Magnifying
No.
glass. Look
Okay.
over the hull and
Magnum. Binoculars.
there it is.
No.
Found it.
Um, if okay, are there any other ships in this side of the bay, or is it like totally all by its
No, I mean it's
lonesome?
in between a couple of larger freighters at the moment.
Okay,
Um,
I'm gonna walk towards one of the larger freighters, just kind of that's nearest to it,
sure.
and see how close I can get without getting myself or Casimir in trouble. Because
Okay.
I am in his bay. This is his shift, and I'm not supposed to be here.
Right. Okay. So I'm gonna make you roll again to be
Okay. Oh
nondescript.
no. Okay.
All right.
All right.
This I think will be a speed roll.
Okay.
Um,
Does this have anything to do with social, like being
yeah,
blending in?
I'd say it absolutely would, because
So
it's not just about being unseen. It's also about being like sort of casual, just sort of like I'm not doing
okay.
anything.
Okay.
So yeah,
Cool. What's the difficulty?
the difficulty on this one is I'm gonna say it's gonna be 3 as well.
Okay. So I am trained in social interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Does that help?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So 2. I'll take the 2.
Okay.
We'll go for it. 6 or better, please. 18. Ah.
All right.
Cool.
Cool. So you, yeah, I mean, like you sort of like wander near the freighter, pick up a crate, and sort of carry it a little ways, and then
Move
set it
some
down.
things around. Tap some tools against like the side of the.
At one point,
I'm working.
you like pretend to like knock a tool off of a pile of crates that rolls. It just happens to roll in the direction of the nondescript looking
Oh, I
transport.
have to go get that. Yeah.
But mostly, it seems like people are pretty busy and aren't really paying that much attention to you.
Mhm.
Um, for the most part, people are used to you in between jobs, like moving away from your bay and just sort of looking at ships up close. So like,
Being a vague nuisance, but like
yeah,
not entirely like border
right,
being a nuisance. Yeah, so she wanders normally.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
you do manage to get over to the ship.
okay. Do I see anything from here?
Um,
Anything I couldn't identify before?
I think I'm just gonna give this one to you because you have given the role that you just made, you have a bit of time to sort of look it over,
Mhm.
and you actually do recognize some aspect as you kind of reach over to it and sort of see like there's not even any kind of like scoring on the hull of the ship.
Just completely smooth, like
Yeah,
it was just manufactured.
basically, but
Jesus.
the exterior of it looks. Let's put it this way: it looks too clean to be as beat up as it looks. If that makes sense? Like it looks like an old beater transport, but when you get up close, it looks like it was just came off the line. Um,
Like of a unit that was made like 30 years ago. Like that's what we're talking about. Like, but it was just manufactured now. That's
yeah,
what
I
it
mean
feels like.
it doesn't look like an old model per se.
Oh, okay.
It's just that it looks like. Actually, as you're getting closer, let's say this: as you're getting closer, you kind of run your hands along the hull of the ship, sort of like looking at it, and you detect just this barest flicker, one that you are familiar
I
with.
recognize.
Yes.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
whatever this ship looks like, it's not what you're seeing.
Do I feel anyone inside of it still? I'll spend a point for it if you want.
Um, I don't think that's necessary. It's a small enough ship that you'd probably be within range to. It doesn't seem like there's anybody on board right now.
Hmm.
Actually, that's not entirely true. You do sense someone, but it's sort of like a. There's no better way to put it than to say that the presence feels somewhat muffled.
Huh. Weird. Okay, now she's just like extremely intrigued, but she knows that she can't get anyone in trouble right now.
Yeah.
She shouldn't get
And when I say muffled, I mean it's similar to what you feel like. It's sort of
like from distance or like
distance, and
that
also
sort of.
maybe the person is asleep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Someone taking a little nap on the ship. Hmm. And I get no other indication of like who this might belong to. Like,
No,
like,
not
okay.
from this. It's without knowing where the sorry, without deactivating the actual like
Yes.
um
Okay.
the God, I haven't actually even come up with a name for that. But
The whatever tech is, yeah,
right,
on the outside.
essentially it's like the holographic camouflage is essentially what it is.
Mhm.
Without deactivating that, there's really not much that you'll be able to detect in
Fair.
terms of
Okay, I'm
markings.
gonna take down the whatever identification number is on it. Is that like? Can I tell if that's also part of
More than
the
likely it
camo
is.
tech?
More than likely it's part
Shit.
of that.
I wonder. Okay, this is a really stupid idea and something I'm making be a thing. So you know how when if you have like a computer monitor or a TV and you press on it and it kind of like goes wonky a
Mm-hmm.
little bit.
Yeah.
If I'm wondering if I can go up to the identification number and just kind of like press on it and see if I can like warp it enough to see what the identification number underneath it might be.
Okay.
That might be. I'll roll a check for. That might be totally bullshit.
No, I mean it's a good thought. I'm gonna set the difficulty of this. It's gonna be pretty tough, because that's
Okay.
like you have to be able to make out the numbers underneath that like
Yes. Yeah.
glitch that you're sort of causing.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say that's gonna be like that's gonna be a difficulty 5.
Okay. Do any of my working in the shop or
Um,
working being familiar with the tech?
I'll say yes. That's
Okay.
gonna definitely count as an asset here.
Okay. So 12 or better.
Yep.
It's okay. All right, I'm just gonna go for it. We'll see what happens. 4. Nope. All right,
I
that's
mean,
okay.
you can cause it to glitch a little bit, but it's really difficult to. It's
Can't see.
yeah, you can't really see it, and even if it's
It probably warps what's underneath it too. Like it's not. I'm not gonna get it.
right, the other difficulty, which is what occurs to you as you're doing it, is that it's entirely possible that underneath the camouflage, the registry number's in a different place entirely on the ship.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna I'm gonna make note registry number on the outside of it, and then make my way back over
Okay.
to my bay.
Sounds good. Just because
Is there?
I haven't done this yet in any of the session zeros, I'm going to offer you a GM intrusion here.
Oh hell yeah! Let's do it, baby.
Okay.
I know the law.
So, that being the case,
Is that?
you will be the only person to start with an XP.
Oh, fancy. Oh, I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm so excited.
So,
Okay, yeah. She makes her way over.
yeah, as you are walking away from the ship, you hear, "Hey!" And you look over and you can see the dock master who's like who's like walking past this area towards a ship that you just saw like coming in, and just happened to glance over and see you walking away from the freighter. He's like, hey, what are you doing?
Hi.
Everybody has orders to stay away from this ship.
Oh, yeah. Not from this. I'm not from this bay. I didn't get those specific orders. I just got really excited about a new ship. I just wanted to see it, sir. Sorry, sir.
What? And this is in your bay. What? So, you what? You just thought you'd walk over here and uh, walk away from whatever job you're working on right now?
I finished. I was done, and I was waiting for new work, and got intrigued by new ships.
He's,
New ships.
he just sort of like looks at you, and you see as he's like pulling out his
He would know me though, right?
yeah, yeah.
He knows I do this.
Yes, which is probably why he's having putting so much emphasis on it, because he knows that you do this, and also this ship was specifically seems everybody was specifically told to stay away from it. And he he watches, he's like pulling out his pad as he's like opening up stuff, and he's like, you know what this means. This usually means that he's about to put in basically
I'm getting a reprimand.
yeah, you're basically about to get a reprimand.
What's his name? What's his name?
This hold on a second, sorry. I like this one. This shift manager, or sorry, uh, dockmaster is Tybalt. He's a human. Yeah, he's human man, and probably in his mid-30s or so.
Do I get reprimands a lot?
Um,
Is this something that happens to me often?
I will leave that up to you, actually.
We'll see how the rest of the scene goes, and then I'll decide.
Well, he's pulling out the pad and he's kind of going through it. He says,
Oh, Tybalt, come on! I was just really excited.
he says, yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna
come
go ahead
on.
and at this point,
I'm done with my work already.
at this point, Casimir walks over. He says, "Hey, sorry, sorry, Tybalt. I asked her. I left my toolbox over there. I asked her to go get it for me and to check to see if it was still there. And that's my fault. I'm sorry." And he kind of looks at Casimir and looks at you, and just slowly puts the pad away. And he says, "Stay away from that ship."
I will. I will. I know now. I know better now.
He gives one last look at the two of you and then just walks away.
As soon as he's out of earshot, she's waiting, just standing in place. She's back.
Oops, sorry, you're cutting out again.
Oh no. She'll kind of just lean and watch him leave, and then as he's out of earshot, she'll scramble over to Casimir and smack him on the shoulder a couple times, be like, "It's got cloaking tech. There's cloaking tech. It's not what it looks like."
Yeah, okay, but listen, you gotta let this one go, okay? I don't know what's going on with any of this, but that just makes it even more none of your business.
That's fair. I'm gonna pull the tool belt off of my waist and be like, "Here, this is." I did actually take that, so there you go. And she's.
He just shakes his head and takes it and just sort of walks away back to his back to his current job.
I'll spare it one more glance, and then I'll head back over.
All right.
And see if any new ships have come in that I need to.
Yeah, you arrive back at your bay, and one of your coworkers just gestures over. He says, "There you are." He says,
"I'm coming."
Because we got another maintenance job over here.
Okay.
And we'll go ahead and cut to the end of your shift. So you kind of make your way over to where you're supposed to, after kind of leaving the locker, putting your tools back, and you make your way over to where Casimir is still waiting for you. Just in the hallway that lines the outside of the spaceport. And he kind of is just sitting on one of the benches, and you can see he's like watching people pass. Hasn't seemed to notice you just yet. Just kind of watching people as they pass. Hands held with fingers together, just sort of like drumming on each other.
I will walk up and like place myself next to him and look around as well.
Mm-hmm. He looks at you. Oh, hey. He says,
Mm-hmm.
did shift go well?
Mm-hmm. 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 Boring. Very, very boring.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty routine day on in my bay too. I saw another one of those Keldro gunboats that came in, not in my bay, but in another next one over.
Cool. Lucky.
Yeah, it says
The big ass ship in your bay was blocking my view.
yeah, it's kind of an ugly one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Needs probably more maintenance than we can feasibly. But
yeah, I'll say it's just as ugly on the inside as it is on the outside. Those engines were a mess, but they didn't want us to do anything, so I said, hell, it's their problem. Anyway, you ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I got my car over here, and he kind of points to just so basically, like, the layout of this is the actual spaceport is just a series of bays that kind of run along the entire conduit side section of the spaceport.
Mm-hmm. They kind of people show up in the conduit and can just like
Basically.
park right off the bat.
Yeah, exactly. And then just outside of the spaceport, there's a corridor that, like a large corridor, probably 50 feet across, that runs the entire length of the spaceport. And then just beyond that, it opens up into sort of like the main, like the open sort of city-like aspect of it, where inside the station, it actually, if you were not aware that you were on a station, you would think that you were on a city on a planet. With like buildings on the inside of the station and all that. He gestures to one of the entrances to that section of the station, where you can actually see his old like beat up rig that's just sitting out there. He says, "By the way, that bypass you did the other day, really it fixed all the problems I was having."
Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, good. I told you. Sometimes you don't need all of the parts.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bit
Less
more.
is more.
Huh?
Trim the fat.
Yeah, I'm a
Less
bit.
is more?
I'm a bit more old school, by the book kind of thing. If it's in there, it's probably
Yeah.
in there for a reason.
Only sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I'll leave that to you, and whenever I need a problem like that fixed, that'll be your job.
Okay.
He gets in. He's like, "Oh, sorry about that." And he like moves some stuff off the seat and just sits it in the back. And so the two of you, he gets in, and his vehicle sort of lifts up off the ground and takes off into the city, rushing past the various buildings in sort of the main residential. Well, actually, first through the sort of like business district, which is the one immediately outside the spaceport, and then through some of the residential areas. Finally reaching sort of the old section, which was the section that was built first when the station started expanding into residential.
Mm-hmm.
As such, as the older part of the station, it is the largely neglected part of the station, a place where now it's more shady back alley than anything else.
Fair.
However, it is also one of the best places on the station to get like parts for your extracurricular activities. So
Yes.
you probably have a lot of cause to come here.
So I'm familiar with the area.
Yeah.
Okay.
He sets down actually just outside of the old section, maybe a block or two away, and he just, as he kind of glances at you, he shrugs and he says, "I don't like parking in there."
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah. Says, "All right, let's see." He reaches down and pulls out his personal terminal and opens it up, and he says, "Okay, let's see. The message said to meet him in prefab 6B." So that's he kind of looks up. He says, "Should be maybe like 3 or 4 blocks over. I always get lost in this place."
Yeah, 3 blocks and then one to the right.
Gotcha. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
you make your way through the streets. Um, in many places, it sort of you can see as it becomes less like streets and much more maze like. If it wasn't for the fact that you come here a lot, you'd probably be lost already. In fact, probably your first time here, it took you forever to like you never even found your destination the first time. You just eventually gave up and just tried to find a way out.
Lost that part. We were done. I needed to go home.
Yeah.
I was tired. It was dark.
But you make your way eventually over to this section. You can see most of this most of this area of the city is built up out of like the old prefab shelters, which are just these low like cubic buildings or constructs. They almost look like they could be like freight containers, but with windows and doors on them. And as they've been here for a long time, additional structures have sort of been built off of them, which is what contributes to the sort of maze-like construction of this whole area. But eventually you find the one that is marked 6B, and the door is less of a door and more of a doorway, as the door has long since disappeared. But standing in the entranceway, you can see sort of a big, burly Keldro. Just sort of.
Am I doing my job? Have I been doing my job?
Yeah.
Out for
Yeah. I mean, mostly people are just the general atmosphere in this area of most of their demeanor is just sort of generally suspicious. But that's just like they're suspicious of everyone and anything at all times, and that's just sort of the way things are all the time here. And you haven't felt anything that indicates any sort of like immediate danger or malintent.
Excellent.
The Keldro.
I assure Casmar.
Huh?
I assure Casmar as we walk or I'm walking through the area.
Okay. He's all right. Yeah. Good. And as you make your way up the short set of steps to the doorway, the Keldro steps in front of it, like was leaning against the wall next to the doorway, and then pushes off and steps in front of it. Says, just sort of stares you both down. Doesn't say anything, and Kazmar says, "Yeah, I'm supposed to be meeting someone here. I'm picking up a part." Keldro just like looks down at Kazmar, and just looks behind him. Says, "And how do I know that's true?" He says, "The hell else would I be here for? It's not exactly the tourist district." But Keldro just sort of looks at him, and you just hear from inside, "Let him through." He looks over his shoulder, looks back, says, "Supposed to let you through." And he just moves out of the way and leans back against the wall.
Thank you. And then, well, we can shuffle in.
Yeah. You step inside the prefab into a dingy, kind of cluttered interior. Areas of it sort of sectioned off by tattered cloth that has been hung in various places, acting as sort of makeshift dividers between certain parts of the room. You see shelves that are lined with parts and various devices in no particular order or organization, just sort of set there. Crates that are open, half emptied of their contents. just a whole mishmash of things. Like, it's pretty clear to you that this is like if it wasn't clear if it wasn't clear before, it is certainly clear now that this is definitely sort of a temporary location for some sort of black market dealer.
Talk about a nostalgia trip, huh? She's just everything.
He,
She probably hasn't had to do this in a long time, so she's like, "Oh man,
yeah.
been a hot minute since I've been here, huh?"
um, Casimir takes a step in and kind of glances around and says, "Oh, guess we better get on with it." And you step in, and just towards the back, um, directly opposite the doorway, there's a metal desk that has been sort of set up, um, and just sort of haphazardly in the middle of the room. It's the only clear surface in the room, and seated behind it, there is there's an Anzalonian woman, with uh, her dark hair is shaved on both sides and pulled back into a tight bun,
Nice.
and dressed pretty conservatively compared to like how Anzalonians typically dress, um, in sort of a simple jumpsuit, sort of a dark navy color. Um, she sets up, she sits up in her chair and looks at the two of you, uh, and she says, "So, you're here to pick up the coil?" And Casimir nods and he says, "Yeah, yeah, that's that's what I'm here for." Um, she kind of leans up a little bit on the desk and looks you over, kind of that her sort of piercing, like bright red eyes, just sort of looking you over, sort of giving you the
I'll like,
huh?
I'll like look over both my shoulders and like point at myself while she's like,
She,
"Me?"
yeah, she's just sort of, she's giving you the impression that she's. Uh, I mean, you're used to being around people who can sense your emotions and your emotional state, but right
Uh-huh.
now the look that she's giving you, something about it makes you feel like she's looking right through you.
Ooh.
Uh, it's a little unsettling, to be honest.
She's not anyone I would recognize for any reason, right?
No.
Okay.
Um, actually, now that you've gotten a bit of a like closer look at her, like when you first saw her, you were sort of more interested in some of the contents of the room, but now that your like attention is directly drawn to her, you're noticing right away that the the jumpsuit that she's wearing, you've actually seen it.
Oh.
She is one of the individuals that uh, disembarked from that nondescript vessel. Um, she looks at back to Casimir and she says, "All right, I've got your part back here. You just need to." She says, "Just need to pay the rest of it." He nods. He says, "I've got it right here." Reaches down for his terminal, and you can see as he types in a few codes, she pulls up her desk terminal. She looks it over. Says, "Great, we received it." She collapses it. Says, "Wait here." Uh, and says, "Don't touch anything." She says, looking specifically at you.
Just with my eyes, I swear.
And she sweeps into the back room, past one of the dividers. Casimir sort of sticks his hands in his pockets and just sort of looks around. Says, "Yep. Every time I do this, it makes me feel like I made a mistake. Every time."
Well, you've done it. You've gotten this far. It's fine.
Oh
You're
yeah,
fine.
no, I
You're
mean
good.
I don't regret it. It'll be worth it once I have that coil in my hand.
Oh, absolutely. My hands. Remember, I get to hold
Your
it.
hands, yeah. Once you have that coil, my coil in your hands, which
Okay.
no ground rules, no tinkering, looking
No, no.
only.
I just look with my eyes only.
Okay, I want I wanna I wanna take a look at it, see how how it works before any tinkering happens.
No tinkering. No, I just wanna see it. It's the newest model, and it's
Yep. No, I get it. I just want to make sure that we're clear, so we don't have a
yes.
repeat of that one. Remember
Mhm.
that
I
one
have
time.
never done anything wrong in my life. I don't know what you could possibly be referring
Yeah. Okay.
to.
Um, you sort of stand there, kind of waiting a few minutes, and then another few minutes pass by. Uh, you nothing. She nothing happening. You can hear the bouncer at the door sort of shifting every once in a while, but other than that, nothing's happening. And after a while, Kazimar just says, "I feel like this is taking longer than it should."
Is it taking longer than
Oh,
than
definitely. Yeah,
any other? Yeah. Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
What? He kind of glances around. He says, "All right, what do you say we You can tell that he's getting really nervous now. You can feel it. You can feel it kind of
Yeah.
like that sort of low level anxiety that he was feeling this whole time has started to spike a little bit.
Yeah.
And he says, "What do you say we let's forget the part. How about that? Let's
You just paid so much for it.
I'll find another one. It's okay. We'll or maybe even just wait. I just wanted to get my hands on one as soon as it came up. It's fine. Let's and he kind of trails off, kind of looking past you, and you can see that at this point the Keldro at the front, he's like takes a step into the room and moves aside, and just immediately behind them there's a several other individuals wearing the same jumpsuits that the Anzalonian woman was as they step inside.
Are these other people who were at the?
Huh?
Are these people who were at the
It
dock?
it's very likely, yes. There was a ways away and you didn't quite catch a lot of like detail, but
I just recognize the outfit. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, yeah, as they're stepping in, and he kind of glances at you and just says, "I it looks like they've got other customers coming in anyway, so
Um.
um,
Do I do? Is there hostile intent here?
that's the thing. You don't sense anything from them.
Horrifying.
Nothing. Uh,
She's gonna kind of like grab like his elbow, which is probably like at like shoulder level for her or something,
mm-hmm.
and be like whisper, I don't feel them.
Says, you know what? Let's. He kind of calls sort of over his shoulder. Let's just consider my payment for this donation to the cause. Don't worry about it. And he kind of puts his arm around your shoulders and starts kind of like pushing you towards walking with you, kind of pushing you towards the entrance.
Yeah.
Um, the figures who just walked in move to block, um, and he says, "Excuse me, can we?" And at that moment, you do feel a surge from the Keldro as you glance over just in time to watch a like stun pistol being pulled, uh,
Oh,
and you you
can I
see
pull us? Can I do anything? Or is this happening?
it's so here's how this is gonna go down. Basically, right now, you watch as Kazimar just collapses right next to you,
Oh,
like hit full force with the stun pistol as he just goes down, sort of like kind of convulsing on the ground with this sort of like little shocks of electricity sort of coursing up his body, um, and the others just sort of move to block as the stun pistol like then points to you. Um,
uh,
you hear footsteps behind you, um, and you just sort of look kind of over your shoulder to see the Enzalonian woman stepping back in. And she says, "Hi. We're gonna need you to come with us."
what might you say if I replied with hard pass to that little number?
She says, she
Hypothetically.
she smiles, a smile that doesn't reach her eyes at all, and she just says, "Well, then I'd say that my friend here will get some of the target practice he was after all." It's your choice, really. She kind of
That's
she nods.
compelling.
Yeah, she glances over at Kazimar, who's still sort of like, who's like finished convulsing, but is like definitely like with a groan has sort of like lost consciousness, and she
Ooh.
says, "Of course, we could also do it the harder way." She kind of nods meaningfully at him on the floor.
Compelling argument. Will he be okay? Can I like come back for him when we're done?
She says, "I wouldn't worry about it."
I might regardless.
She pushes up from the desk and walks over, stepping over Kazimar to stand kind of uh, next to where you are.
And she is how tall?
Oh, she's probably about 6'3".
Oh yeah, no. Ooh, good. Putting some change higher. Yeah, she.
Yeah.
Bina looks up very slowly at her.
She's not looking at you anymore. She's instead talking to the Keldro. She says, "Take him back to his vehicle and just leave him there. He'll wake up eventually." And she says,
Okay, I can be on board with that.
she,
That's a good plan.
she nods to the others who in jumpsuits, most of whom are like wearing some form of mask that covers part of like partially covering the face. Some of it's the lower face, and you can see like breathing apparatus apparati from the mask, and some of them you can see it's more of a visor.
The breathing apparatus, is that something I've ever seen before? Like, do different atmosphere? Like,
Yeah, I mean you've seen some variation of breathing apparatus like this on various species in the past. Some of it is for atmospheric conditions. Some of it is for like individual health conditions, and some of it.
oh, okay.
In this case, you're getting the impression that this might be for identity concealment and or intimidation.
Fair. Okay. Well, Bina's definitely intimidating. And she's very, I think a lot of her emotions read like in her body language and like in her like antenna specifically. Kind of like she's kind of wilted a little bit and it's just kind of they're up real high, kind of like together. It's like, cool. Great.
She nods.
Excellent.
The Enzalonian woman nods to the others, who then sort of like move out of the way and step to sort of like surround in sort of like a half circle behind the two of you. And she looks at you. She says, "Come with me." As you step out, a vehicle pulls up to the front. That just sort of opens, and you make your way inside.
Could he get that part though? Like too? Like is that? He shot him. Could he have it? Maybe.
She shoots you just this sort of withering gaze.
Bina is sufficiently withered. Do I feel her? Do I? The other guys I don't feel. Do I feel her? I don't.
You do feel sort of her presence.
Okay.
But the interesting thing about her is that with her, it's just sort of, you're not feeling any particular emotion, just sort of a cold, like, kind of, like, disconcertingly calm.
Okay. That's fair. I just needed to know if she was invisible, like the other guys.
No, you can feel her for sure, but
okay.
You almost wish you couldn't.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because that calm is sort of this deep, kind of calculating calm, and like there's no other way to describe it than to say that it feels dangerous.
Bina likes danger, but not this kind.
Yeah. This is the kind of danger that doesn't spike the adrenaline. This is the kind of danger that just freezes your blood.
Yeah.
As you're getting into the vehicle, the door closes shut behind you, and the rest of the entourage.
The groupies.
Yeah. We're gonna go ahead and cut to the spaceport. As you recognize it.
Oh no.
as you're being led inside to the vessel. The boarding ramp comes down as you are sort of not so gently encouraged to board. Um, you make your way up into the ship itself, finding yourself uh, led back to a what looks like a cargo hold. Um,
Oh.
for the most part, empty, except for a single. It looks like a container of some sort, like the kind that you would transport animals in.
Okay.
Like it has like holes like vent for ventilation and that kind of stuff. Um, and you once again sense that same presence that you sensed from before, in there.
Oh.
That same presence. It feels like a person sleeping, although now you're suspecting that it might be some other form of unconsciousness.
Yeah. Yep.
um,
Drawing conclusions.
yeah, and as you step inside, the kind of masked figures sort of spread out to like the various sides of the room, and the Anzalonian woman says, "We don't really take kindly to uh, people poking around in our business."
Hmm. That's very, very, very valid of you. Uh,
See, and unfortunately, you saw more than you should have.
um, well, I. Most people did see the ship. It's a very, very bland, boring ship. Sure is what I laid my eyes on. Mm-hmm.
She smiles again, that same very cold smile, and she says, "Sadly, there's no way to guarantee that." So, and you watch as the smile vanishes from her face just suddenly, and she just says, "Consider yourself volunteered." Uh,
Uh,
and she nods to one of the other individuals in the room who walks up to the crate and presses a couple of buttons on the control panel, and you see as one side of it just sort of
oh.
slides open, and inside you can see an individual. Hard to make out much about them, but you can see that they are. You can see a mass of curly dark hair, um, maybe some glasses. It's hard, probably human, absolutely asleep or unconscious,
Oh.
and you can see like on like a gurney strapped down to it.
Oh.
Um,
Her eyes are the size of saucers.
and in that moment, as you're seeing this, you feel another surge as you look just in time to see her pulling a stun pistol on you,
Ah.
and it just discharges, and you feel yourself just sort of convulse and fall to the floor. Uh, and the last thing that you remember seeing is her booted feet as they stand in front of your face. You feel yourself being kind of rolled over onto your back as she looks down at you and says, "Sleep well." And that's where we'll stop.
So. Oh my god. I'm so scared.
All right.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
that is where we'll have to leave it until Infinite Horizon.
Oh, you guys. Oh, I'm excited.
Me too. I'm so pumped.